Yes, sir. We are back with another One Piece review. Reviewing two chapters this time. There we go. Two chapters this time. That being 166 and 167. And let me tell you, these two chapters were, I'll say, a good. What am I looking for? A good look into people's perspectives and mindsets. Those two main people being Harold and Garp. Garp with 166 and Harold with 167. End of 166. So let's get into it, am I right? So at 166, mainly that whole chapter was the aftermath of the God Valley incident. So you have Rocks got defeated by Garp and Roger. And the whole, focusing the hockey to make mass, whatever, make it a heavier attack, practically just hit him harder. That worked and kind of like, reversed reversey, whatever it's called, right? So Rocks got back to him, but he's knocked out, tired, half dead. And then we get this bum Garland. He like kills like Rocks dead on the ground, like practically knocked out. You know what I mean? Just came up to do the cleanup work. Rayleigh and guy Ebon save Garp and Roger. They head on out, leave the island. The island then gets exploded by Emu. If you know from last chapters ago, we know that Emu could destroy islands. Did that one time with the Sabo Island, the island Sabo was on, or we thought he was on, wiped that island off the face of the earth and whatnot. So we just know Emu has island eraser hacks, or whatever you want to call it. So time passes on, people heal up, and we get like the news. Obviously, how like the news is reversed now, not reversed, but not that's the whole story. How Garp was the hero that saved the God Valley and whatnot, and he was like the hero that killed Rocks. And, people are excited like Rocks is dead and whatnot. There's going to be some type of peace in the world. And Garp's speaking up about this saying like, bro, why are the news lying right now? And then Sengoku's explaining like, that's how the world works. And there's like, soldiers, like, what did he say exactly, bro? Because again, this goes back to me saying like, we understand people's mindsets and whatnot. And this is kind of like this chapter of like us understanding like, how the good Marines, quote unquote works. Okay, so let me see right here. The world governments. Relax, Scarp. You only wrote that because the world government paid him off. All right, so here, right. I think this is the quote right here. The world government and the Marines are massive organizations. Why is this blurry? There we go. If you count the member nations' armies, we're talking about tens of millions of soldiers worldwide. It's impossible to account for everyone's actions and emotions. Garp said, oh no. Yeah, that's Sengoku. Then Garp says, so if the top brass ever do strike me as insane, I simply turn a blind eye to it. He says, come again. It's like I said, you're just another promotion chasing fool. That's Garp talking. Shut up, you can't. What good can you do barking from the bottom of the cliff? Then Garp says, if you ever stray and get corrupted, I'll kill you myself. Then Sengoku says, how reassuring, that's what friends are for. Then Sengoku's like, so you're not quitting the Marines? Then Garp says he's not, because there are still things at the bottom of the cliff. There are still things at the bottom of the cliff that need a guard dog. So the whole interaction basically sums up of, I'm trying to stay at the top brass, to like have some power that could be somewhat helpful. And Garp's like, I'll still, just, protecting things at the bottom levels and whatnot, be fair for the bottom people. Stuff like that, okay? And I might as well tap into this right now for this review. So, it still makes no sense because in this span of time, this like, what? I think 30 years in the past and whatnot. This is like a lot of time. What did they really do? You know what I mean? Like, the government's still corrupt. And yeah, like, his excuse at the beginning, not excuse, but, his reason, like, there are a lot of, the world government's pretty large, so you can't, account for every small little thing. But even still, we know that your government does lie at times. Like, they're willing to change the news and whatnot to fit their narrative. At the same time, I'm pretty sure Garp probably told Sengoku about what happened on the island and how one of the five elders turned to, like, this shadow monster and whatnot. Then on top of that, with the whole, people, the Celestial Dragons, I think people for games. So, with all this being said, what did you guys do in the span of 30 plus years when it comes to being in the world government and having like this upper, your man being working up to be a fleet admiral, then you saying you want to be like, the vice admiral of the people. Not a lot has you haven't done a lot. Is what I'm seeing right now. Like there has not been enough work on your end to change things inside the world government with the position you've been in. You're a war hero. People love you. Your friends work up in the ranks and whatnot. I feel like with you two both being in the government, y'all should have been making power moves, but y'all were just very complacent, and that's the issue I have with them. Especially like Sengoku too, because again, that man is just, what did you do? You just kind of been like this figurehead. Like, yeah, you're a decent person, but still at the end of the day, you guys haven't done enough with the power you had. But again, like I said in my last video, I think it's just supposed to show how like they are flawed for not doing anything, and like that's what the next generation is for, like break that cycle. But it gets me upset. Like I see people trying to defend Garp. I'm like, bro, Garp is a flawed character for a reason. Like he's flawed because he didn't do anything despite having all the tools to do something. You know what I mean? So that was the actual Garp, and like this kind of hammered it on too, because again, they even show like obviously like what obviously was saying, him being like a guard dog. But like when you first see Garp, he's like wearing like a dog hat. So he really is just like a government dog that has a lot of bark to him. Like there really is no bite with Garp. Like he's still like on a leash. He's still like the government's dog. He's a bit of a, we use the dog like a bit untrained. Like he'll still bark at you, but he's not really gonna bite the hand that feeds him. He never will do that. He's just like the loud dog, but he will still stay in line and do his job at the end of the day. That's what Garp is, and I feel like Kobe is supposed to be the person who's gonna like break that cycle. Moving on from this aspect, we then go on to what's next. Oh yeah, this was very cute. Like two things were kind of cute right here. The flashback of Loki saying how he thinks Rox is Nika and whatnot. He's gonna be like destroy the world and not laughing and whatnot. Him admiring Rox. Like again, like look at this is still like Loki's backstory, but it really just shows like deep down Loki is a decent person. Like they're gonna see more of that in the next chapter. Where I'm talking about that later on. But like we really just see how Loki was just a kid who admired this Rox guy who was kind of like the embodiment of freedom at the time. And then like we also get like this little more information about Rox too. Like Rox saying he doesn't want to destroy the world, he wants to be king of the world as well. So that probably goes again to like the promise of Davy Jones, how he was supposed to be king but Emo took it from him. So it's supposed to be like a lineage thing, like the real king of the world is supposed to be the Davy clan. So we'll get more of that. Then we get the next scene of Harold tweaking out on a giant. So Harold's beating up like this one giant that was robbing humans. The giant's trying to apologize, but Harold's beating him up. Not only because like he's giving a bad image to humans, but as well he's just taking a frustration too, because like he's just again Rox just died. His best friend died practically. No, not practically, but like his best friend did die. And when he had the chance to help his best friend, he didn't, because he was afraid like what would happen like with his relationships to the government and whatnot. So he's just upset because if he was there, he probably could have helped Rox, and Rox wouldn't have died. That's his mindset right now. So he's just like very upset. And then he goes to the extreme. And then in the chapter, he like goes to the world government and like breaks his horns off and says he's willing to be like a slave for them to like apologize for like the 1,000 years of history and bad blood the giants have caused humanity. And right now explaining like how the kids are doing better. Like we teach the kids how to be non-violent. They're reading books now. I'm breaking off my horns, like a part of my lineage, like of the old giants' old ways. I'm breaking those off to show, hey, I'm willing to be you guys a slave in order to help boost up publicity of public love. I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? As in like public love for giants and whatnot. So people like, respect the giants, won't see us as monsters or destroyers or whatnot. That's how the chapter ends. Then we also get in the chapter Dragon and Garp's interaction. Dragon's in jail. Dragon says he despises Garp and whatnot, and he's going to quit the government. Garp knows he's going to do that and quit the Marines. Garp gives him a key, so he frees his son. Like that's his one thing he does or whatnot. But still, I think seeing your son do this right now, like despising you for still saying the government, leaving to what's he face, be revolution. He doesn't know it's going to be Revolutionary Army, but still, Garp was given like a lot of chances to escape the Marines and like do outside work to better the world, but he chose not to. Just chose to just be stationary and like do small stuff, but not real big things that have impact. Like yeah, he let his son go, and that did cause a chain reaction, starting like the Revolutionary Army. But you had chances like Roger offering you to leave, like, hey, you can join our crew and whatnot. The Marines suck. It's like, no, I gotta protect the Marines. Then you had like the whole article come out saying you're a war hero, and you're like, hey, that's not true. This sucks. And so Goku's like, hey, you gonna quit the Marines? He's like, nah, not gonna do it. I gotta be like the guard dog for the lower people or whatnot. Then the third time, you're now actually breaking the rules. This like the one good thing he did was like break his son out of jail. He's like, again, that's your son. You did something. And then at that point, that could have been your chance to like escape with him and like, you know, help build the Revolutionary Army. You don't do that, but you did do something decent. That being freeing your son, and then having him, you know, do what it does for the Revolutionary Army. So that's 166. Moving on to 167, though, this is when we actually get some good stuff here. When it comes to what's his name, Harold, and Lucky too, bro. This chapter, I'm not gonna hold you. This chapter was pretty good for both of them. Because again, we both see like we get a peek in their head, if that makes sense, in their mindset, like why they're doing what they're doing. Well, like we know why Harold's doing what he's doing, but we understand more of Loki too, like just the small stuff, you know what I mean? So let me, okay, yeah. So now we're like my bad. We're 5 years after God Valley at this point in this next chapter. And people are talking about like how, you know, don't go to a certain part of the sea because like this giant figure whatnot destroys pirate ships and whatnot. And it's kind of like it's building up to Harold is like this secret weapon almost to take care of pirates on the sea. Like he's helping the Marines take out pirates. So like now there's kind of like this legend of him building up pirate crews and whatnot, like this giant humanoid figure that destroys pirate ships, so don't go in that area. So like Harold is now doing work for the government, like taking out pirates. And the reason why their legends started to build up a little bit, like, you know, this mythos, is because giants are still kind of rare to see. So, like, seeing, like, this giant figure, you know, on top of that being, like, an ancient giant, not that, having ancient giant blood in him as well. He's, like, you know, again, 10 times bigger than other giants and whatnot. So, like, seeing, like, the peak of gianthood attack your ship, one-shotting them, is a sight to see, like, it's almost, you know, crazy story to tell, if that makes sense. So, now at this point, Hair really becomes like, you know, a weapon of the government, like kind of what Emu wants. Because I didn't say this also. At the end of the chapter, you see a picture of Emu's eye as well. When Harold says he wants to be a slave for the world government, then Emu perks his head like, oh, he gets what he wants. Because again, Emu wants the giants to be like, you know, his army. Like he wants a warrior. He wants the giants to be like his, you know, army. Because again, they're a warrior race, one of the strongest races in the verse. I think that and the what's he face. I think it's called the Lumerians. I think that's what they're called. The people with the brown skin, fire on the back. That's who. What not? So it was Queen and King. That's who King. That's King's race, and like that's a race of people that got genocided in the One Piece verse because I think they were just too strong as well and not easy to control. So this is just there right now. What I'm thinking is, Emu wanted have the Lumerians as his like army or whatnot, but it didn't work out. So now he wants to get the giants instead. I think that's how it worked. I think they explained it better. Like I think the Lumerians were like either slaves or they were the race of people that lived on the top of the Grand Line. That used to be Mary Joy. I think they just kind of got genocided out and experimented on later. Yeah, that's how it goes. But regardless, Emu wants the giants as his army right now. Whatever. And then we get, you know, talks about, you know, how people from Roxas' crew grew up in infamy, like Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard. Then how Roger and his crew, you know, was the star player, how he became the king of the pirates, traveled the world and whatnot, found the One Piece. Then at that point, you know, they executed Roger, and that just kind of set the war more into motion, more chaotic, had more pirates come out, and that's when the Marines started hiring giants. They started like 10 giants and whatnot to like add to their military force with the amount of pirates coming out after Roger's death. We'll find the One Piece being the first pirate to circumnavigate the world, they said. So that was that with Roger. They kind of went over Roger's part pretty fast, but we know the story at this point. And then we cut to Harold again. We get some new lore about these deep sea contracts. So one, Harold becomes like a, was it God Steel? Yeah. And that's like practically the right hand of the God's Knight. He gets like then he makes like a contract too. it's a minor contract. There's like 3 levels to it. The first level being what is it? Yeah, the shallow sea contract, deep sea contract, and then deep sea contract. But only those 2 levels that I just mentioned, the last two, are reserved for people who like truly believe in God. I think that God being Emu, and only 13 people have them. So I think that being like the 5 elders and the holy knights. And so, what's he face? The 5 elders until no. Well, let me see. Oh my God, the deaths. Okay, yeah. So then they say like once you become a full holy knight of God, at that point, then Elbaf could be like a member nation, and that's what he wants. He wants Elbaf to be a member nation, be respected, be loved by other people, have their sins forgiven with this new era he's trying to push out with peaceful giants and whatnot. So that's cool. And then we get cut to Garland and the people being surprised how he's like willing to submit and do whatever they say, and like you're yeah, one of the whole last, you're going to obey us even though you're king of Elbaf. And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. So it just really just shows how Harold is willing to do anything, like really become like he said, just like a slave to the government, just so his people could get a chance to be loved and respected, but not, just so his people could not be hated around the world and be fearful of them. Because again, for 1,000 years, like he said, like giants had like kind of wreaked havoc on the world, took from humans, stole from humans, and he wants to change that narrative or perspective and show like giants can be good people. And we saw that like in modern times, currently like when Luffy joined Elbaf or went to Elbaf, he's like, "What? Why are the giants so soft? Like I thought the giants were like a warrior race." And like at that point, we were seeing like the fruits of heroes. They were like the giants being like a peaceful race, and Luffy not really being a huge fan of that. And then one of the kid giants kind of wanted to go back to like, hey, I want us to be like a warrior race again. Like that's what made us cool. That's something we should be proud of. So I think Heroes arc not Heroes arc like the Giants arc gonna be like that balance of it's okay for you guys to be a warrior race. It's gonna be like a balance too. Like you could be both a warrior race but also a peaceful race as well. You know what I mean? And have that balance and like flip that narrative. You guys not being just pure monsters, but at the same time you're not gonna be like super soft as well. You know what I mean? That's my thought process. Whatever. Moving on, we then just see like, Harold going through, major people we met in the story. First King Neptune, them talking to each other. King Neptune seems going to have a daughter at some point. She's going to be great in the future. Then even offering, hey, maybe our kids can marry each other at some point too. Loki and Neptune's daughter. What's her name? I forgot her name, but we know her name. I think it's Hoshi. It's a weird. It starts with an S. We know. Then at that point, even Neptune said, I think Loki's probably not seeing how he lets off too. Like he's probably like a good kid at heart. So again, they're building up to like Loki's kindness and whatnot. Oh, and then we get like a Saul scene too at what's he face at O'Hara. So Harold meets up with Saul at O'Hara. Says he's going to stay there. Then mentions how like at some point we could open a school together, or you could open a school in Elbaf, to teach the kids. And which Saul does do. We see in like the chapters when we first go to Elbaf, Saul's a teacher there. So like a lot of things are building up, or a lot of foundational pieces are being set up that actually did pay off, as we see later on. And then we get to here's the good stuff right here. So then after that, we cut to 15 years ago when Fish Tiger invaded Mary Joy to like free the slaves and whatnot. Then we get like this cut shadowy figure of somebody who we assume is probably Shanks. He what's he face? Tells Fish Tiger about a vault that's already unlocked, and at that point, he could help free the slaves and whatnot. So Shanks kind of assisted in the the slave revolt on Mary Joy during that night. So that was kind of cool just to see that, the little panel. And so we see people being freed and whatnot. And then the next panel, we see people talking about how they want to capture the guy who helped free the slaves and went on to execute them. And then we cut to Garland introducing Shanks. So Shanks was a God Seal as well. And so just Shanks, Harold says he probably met Shanks before, but then Shanks has like this whole new attitude, claiming to be, the son of Garland and whatnot. How he was, what else he says? Yeah, giant commoner. He was just very rude. Like he was acting like, how you would think a holy knight or someone who was raised Mary Jo's word to act. But then you see like a panel of like Shanks, kind of like regretting what he said. So obviously it might be an act of him just putting up a front right now, and now he I don't know what his plan is right now. I don't know what's the mindset. I think because then we see Shamrock is upset with Shanks because people were alienating him for some reason. That's because Shanks are out of bound in the world, and like Shanks wants to know more about the Holy Land as well. Then he says how he hated everything down there while he was down there with Roger and whatnot, which I don't think is true. I think he loved his time with Roger and whatnot. I think he's just upset that Roger died. I'm really trying to figure out like what is Shanks' reason to going back. I think it probably was because he was upset about Roger's death. Then at that point, went to the Holy Knights and just to, I don't know, gain favor for them for later on in the future. I don't know, man. I don't know what this man's thinking is for joining the Holy Knights or trying to join them, because obviously he doesn't join them. He ends up believing again, becoming like a pirate, but he still has some sway there because I can go back and forth to the Holy Land whenever he wants to. So I just can't tell you. Maybe it's like a double. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I'm trying to theorize, but I can't. So then, this is the final arc or final talking point. We cut to the village, and how Harold's wife right now, Ida, is sick. And then also the doctor's trying to say like, why aren't you at this point? What's your face? Harold could get used to I thought for sure someone said something about like she should be able to marry Harold, but like then she's like talking about like her blood or whatnot. I thought I saw that, but no. Oh no, they did something. Whenever Harold's home, he's always goes straight to the elders and begs them to allow you to legally marry. Yeah, I was right. Oh yeah, so she's complacent with the tavern and enjoys the sailors and whatnot. So I think she's kind of upset about her blood, being like an outsider giant. But Harold doesn't care about that. But she's complacent with the tavern. Not complacent is the wrong word, but she's happy working the tavern, even though Harold's trying his best to just legally have them get married and whatnot. But point is, she's sick. The doctor's like, "Hey, listen, we could ask for Harold's help because like he has connection with the government. Why not ask for the government's help or whatnot to help heal you? Because what's the point of having connections if we don't use them? You know what I mean?" We then cut to Loki catching the buffalo for her to get fed and whatnot. Like, hey, cook this up for her, make sure she gets fed because she wants the tavern to come out because he likes hanging at the tavern. Then we cut to Harjin. Herjuden. I don't know why I keep messing up his name. We catch him, cut to him. He's trying to find a good doctor to heal his mom to cure the sickness. He's gonna don't know what's going on with her, like why she's sick. But yeah, she's saying everyone's doing too much right now. I don't know why, but then also we then see she's saying we may not be related to blood, but I see Loki as my son too, just as well as I see Harrison. So practically saying like he's my son as well, which is nice. And then we cut to Loki going back to his old village where his mom came from, and people admitting, "Hey, yo, listen, we poisoned the queen or this lady because like they're trying to stop her inheritance because they don't want her to become the queen." And what's his face? Yeah, they don't want a foreigner. They don't want a foreigner bitch worm to worm her way into the royal family, which is insane work, by the way. Like they literally poison this lady because they don't want her to weasel her way into the royal family because she's a foreigner. So going back to her being ashamed by her blood being an outsider giant, but then Harold trying to find a way to make her official, but she's turning it down because like she still has some shame towards it, and she's okay with the tavern. Then these people from the old town, Esther was the name of the former queen, who's Loki's actual mother, and they don't want her to claim that inheritance and whatnot. So at that point, Loki crashes out because again, this is the only person who like treated him as a son. Like again, his own mother tried to murder him at birth, threw him like in the what do they call it, the realm of the dead when he was a child because like his eyes went out, like him looking like a monster. So, he doesn't really even care about that side of the family. And now you just told him that you poisoned the only person that actually loved him and cared for him as a son. And so now Loki's crashing out like he's practically destroying and burning the town. Just a really good chapter right now for Loki. A good chapter for Harold too, seeing like his perspective, being willing to be a slave for the system. And ultimately at some point we're going to see that he's going to, get killed. Why, we don't know yet, but like, it's probably has to do like him like breaking the contract or whatever, or deep sea contract. Not deep, but it was like a minor contract. It was a level 1 contract. The point is, I'm pretty sure like he broke that contract, and that's how he ended up dying. That's what I'm guessing. But yeah, just overall, this is like a really good chapter just to see more of Harold and like his mindset and like the path he took to make the Giants a love and respected people. And at the same time, we see that Loki was finally opening up, like he is a good person at heart, as we see throughout the chapters, like him being a kid admiring rocks, but then at the same time finding love when it comes to like a stepmother who actually loved him for him, taking care of him and whatnot. Then figuring out that she was poisoned by the mother by the family of the mother who despised you, and them trying to be all goody with you, like, oh, we did this, we could work together, aren't you happy about this? And then him crashing and burning the village, it makes sense. And now we're even learning more, because I'm pretty sure in early chapters you talk about like Loki like had a tantrum and burned down like a whole village at some point, and it made it seem like he was just like in the wrong for that, but like it turns out he burned down the village because they poisoned the stepmother. So yeah, overall, great 2 chapters. I enjoyed them thoroughly. Not gonna hold you. This is just like a good spread. No break next week as well. And man, what else can I say? Other than, oh yeah, I think I could talk about like the older generation. How like the older generation didn't do enough when it came to preventing things like they could have prevented. Like the older generation could have done stuff to stop other things from going on. That being Garp with leaving the Marines to do more when it comes to the crimes they commit, or even in the Marines do more when it comes to not mistakes having like bad things happening, like using your influence and authority to make waves happen to like change the Marines for the better. Then Harold fully going into like accepting like, okay, I'm just going to be a slave to the system, do what they say to better my people and whatnot, make sure they get a good public life, but in the end still ended up dying because there's probably something he probably couldn't do. I don't know why he got killed, but like it was something he didn't want to do, and that was a step too far, and like he didn't want to probably abandon too much of his humanity, because again, or maybe it was like Emu like said he wants to make, why would Harold want to stop helping them? Because Harold was okay with stopping hurting pirates or whatnot, so I think Harold was just doing like the bare minimum of like decent things. But no, because he heard about like the slave breakout as well, and then wants to execute the guy who wanted to break out. So even Harold is still in the grade too, because like he's again complacent with them doing these tragedies and whatnot. But again, like he's overlooking that because he has his own goal in mind, that being the public love of his people. But man, I could not tell you. I could not tell you. But let me stop here. I yapped long enough. This is a long ass video, bro. My bad. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. I talk about a lot of stuff. Right now it's been anime stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's fun. I like talking about it. It's my thoughts about things. Channel name right there. But yeah, that's it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. And yeah, until next time, y'all be easy, alright?